Howdy, this is Pastor Eric. I said I was going to have some of these videos that I would post as I reflect on stuff, and I'm my first week. I only managed to put out one, so we're going to see if I can manage to get more than one in this week. And so this is the second installment of Erik rambles about the apocalypse, I guess. This morning I was spending some time thinking. I've kind of got a new routine right now, and I think a lot of y'all are dealing with the same thing where your routine is all messed up. Like, you can't go out to restaurants, and you can't, go places you would normally go. You're kind of stuck at home, and your kids don't leave. They're there all the time, and there's all this stuff happening that's different. And I've heard a lot of people complain, a lot of people raise like, well, it's an awful time, and it is an awful time. Like, before I start talking about what I'm going to talk about, like no matter what I say, understand, I don't look at what's happening right now and think it's no big deal. And I wouldn't downplay like the difficulty people are experiencing, or the fear some folks have about like whether they'll have jobs tomorrow. I know this is a scary time, and I wouldn't make light of that. I wouldn't make light of the fact that people are afraid of getting sick or their loved ones dying or whatever. I mean, this is all awful, and it is miserable, and it is just a crummy situation across the board. That having been said, like I've noticed kind of a positive thing, and it's easy to get stuck in sort of the negative. I read this anecdote. I don't know how old it is. It was from a rabbi who talked about the Jews crossing the Red Sea, and these two men are walking along, and they're complaining about the mud and getting mud all over their clothes and their feet sticking to the ground and how difficult it is. And the whole time they're walking across on dry land with the Red Sea on either side of them, as God has parted the waters to save them from Pharaoh, they're complaining, and they're so busy looking down at the mud that they never see anything good. And like I'm trying very hard to not just be so negative. Like, it's frustrating having to suddenly remember how to do fractions so that I can teach a 10-year-old how to do it. I mean, believe me, like I'm not having fun with that. I'm worried about my family. I'm worried about like the financial stuff that's happening around me. I'm worried. I mean, there's a lot. Like, it's easy to be scared, but here's a positive. And like, I trust God's in control of all that. Like, I talked about that in the last video, but I have discovered a positive. And this positive is, like, this is a passage. It was actually quoted to me from several years ago by my mentor pastor. I had an episode where I got sick. It was a stress-related illness, and I just kind of I ended up in the emergency room, and it was a big deal. And it was kind of scary. And afterward, I was talking to my mentor pastor about what happened. And we talked about stress, and we talked about like rest and everything else. And he pointed out this passage is from 2 Chronicles, and it's from when the people of Israel have been captured by the Babylonians. The Babylonians were a neighboring empire. They invaded, they conquered Israel, they sacked Jerusalem, and they dragged everybody away in chains. And they took them away to be servants and slaves and like sort of a lower class of citizen in Babylon. And in 2 Chronicles 36, verses 20 to 21, it says, "Those who had escaped the sword he carried away to Babylon, and they were servants to him and to his sons until the rule of the kingdom of Persia, to fulfill the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah, until the land had enjoyed its Sabbaths. All the days of desolation it kept Sabbath until 70 years were complete." And so what the passage is saying, and what my mentor pastor pointed out, he said, look, you take Sabbath, you take days of rest, you take days to recharge, or what will eventually happen is Sabbath will just take you. In the passage, like, it talks about the land getting a rest, which is something God commanded of his people. But for us, we're supposed to stop and rest. And if you don't rest long enough, if you don't take Sabbath days long enough, what will eventually happen is rest will take you. You'll get sick. I know everybody catches the cold the same time of year, and a lot of that's because we run ourselves ragged and our immune systems are broken, or we have stress-related problems, back problems, stomach problems, whatever. Like, we get all of these stress-related illnesses, and eventually we hit a point where we break down and we're forced to rest. the Sabbath is this gift that God gave his people. And sometimes we look at it like a law, and it's a law that we don't really keep as Christians anymore because like Jesus sort of doesn't follow it the way people expect him to. And Paul kind of maybe downplays its importance. And we look at it, sort of the abuses of it in the past where folks would say, well, can't play baseball on the Sabbath, or you can't dance on the Sabbath, can't cook a meal on the Sabbath, and all this other stuff, as though like enjoying your life was a violation of Sabbath, or feeding yourself is a violation of Sabbath. Like, it's not. Sabbath is a gift that God gave us where we get to rest and spend time with him and enjoy life. And every week we're supposed to stop and rest and spend time with God and enjoy our lives. We're not meant to work every day. We're not made to work every day. We're not made to be in constant motion. We're made to stop and rest. I often tell people in counseling and in different settings that rest is when you grow. Like if you're a gym nut, and you lift weights, you don't grow, you don't get strong lifting weights, you get strong resting, and you grow resting. You get big muscles because you rest the appropriate amount of time. Your body recovers and it grows. It recovers and it gets stronger. But rest is when the real magic happens. You have to go through the hardship, and the rest has to be a part of it. Both are a part of the equation. And rest is something we sorely lack in our day and age. And this time we're in is forcing us, a lot of us, to rest. We can't go to the movies. We can't go out to the bar. We can't go out to dinner. We have to spend time with our children. Some of us can't go to work. We're forced to sit home and rest. Are there negatives to that? Heck yeah, there are negatives. I'm not saying there isn't. I'm not downplaying that. But I'm saying we are in a time where we're basically being forced to rest. And a lot of us don't even know how to rest anymore. A lot of us see rest as, binge watching my next Netflix show. I laid on the couch all day and did nothing. And that's my rest. Or I, drank a half a bottle of wine and laid around all day and that was my rest. And that's not rest. It's escape. And you look at it like there's all kinds of stuff that are escape that we run to. We run to TV, we run to excess food. And how many people have I heard joke about, and I'm doing it too, I ate all my food the first day, now I have nothing to eat for the rest of the apocalypse. Like, what am I going to do? And eating to escape is not rest. It's escape. TV is oftentimes just an escape. I spent a ton of time sharing funny little pictures and memes on the internet, and that, as much as I hate to admit it, is really just escape. It's using humor to avoid everything. We keep noise on in the background, so we have to rest. We take on new projects, we keep on noise on in the background so we don't have to stop, slow down, be in quiet, and rest. We find new projects to do. We take on new tasks. We find ways to keep ourselves busy because rest is not something we do. As a culture, we despise rest. When you ask folks, how is life treating you? How are you doing right now? What do they say? I am busy. Because busy is a virtue for us. You never stop. You have to do more. You have to stay busy. You've got to work. You've got to find obligations. You've got to overcommit. You've got to break yourself in the process. And the thing is, that's not what God made us to do. And right now we have the blessing that we're forced to rest. We're forced to sit. And many of us don't want to do that. And so we're looking for things to keep ourselves busy. TV or food or projects or memes on the internet. Or we're watching news constantly. We're making ourselves so angry that we can't sit down and just breathe right. Like our hearts beat fast. And we hate those other guys because we can't rest. And in reality, we have time to do it now. What God calls us to do, the way rest works is stopping. It's enjoying. It is spending time with God. And a lot of times we don't think about that. We don't think about, I should spend time with God. And I talk to folks, well, how's your prayer life? Well, I don't pray because I'm too busy and I don't think about it. now you have time. And not only do you have time, you have a huge reminder because the world's falling apart. People are going to start losing their jobs, and people are dying, and New York is a disaster area. Like, I think they're an official state of disaster now, and so is LA, and so is San Francisco. Like, our loved ones are in danger, and you can't buy toilet paper. I mean, that's awful, and like all of this stuff is happening, and there's a constant reminder that you're not in control. And you kind of need some help. Like, when things are easy, we don't think about the fact that, oh yeah, I kind of need God to help me. And God gave me all of this ease. And God gave me all of this wealth and comfort and everything else. Like, we forget about that. Right now, we have to stop and say, like, oh wow, God, I need you. I need you. And we get into the habit of saying, God, I need you. God, I'm looking for you. God, help me to be a person who draws close to you. That's how you feed your soul. A lot of us are starving to death spiritually because we're so busy running that we never feed our souls. And this is a time we can do that because we're stuck. We have to sit. We can't go out. We can't eat out every night. We can't do this. We can't do that. We're stuck. And we have a constant reminder. The world is ending. The apocalypse is happening. It's there. And I'm being sarcastic. I don't think this is the apocalypse at all. I'm just using it, anyway. But we can pray. We can spend time with God. Like, one of the best things I discovered from my marriage was a few years ago, I realized I wasn't dating my wife anymore. And so I started taking her on dates and talking to her more. And it did wonders for our relationship. The same is true of our relationship with God. Like, we have to stop and enjoy some quiet now and again. Put down your phone. Turn off your TV. Talk to God. Talk to God about your neighbor that you're worried about. Talk to God about, like, am I going to have a job in a month? Talk to God about, like, the fact that you're nervous and you feel like stuff is out of control. Talk to God about the fact that you're angry. Talk to God about, like the ways you need to grow, and rest in Him. Rest in your family. Like, I spent my morning relearning fractions and trying to figure out how to do math with my, with the 10-year-old and learning, trying to help my 9-year-old figure out the computer stuff for her class, and dealing with, like, breakdowns and frustration and everything else, and then making food and everything else. But, like, the cool thing was I taught one of them how to make mac and cheese on the stove. And I went for a walk with all of them, and we laughed and played in the snow. And, like, they came to my office a little while ago and hung out for a while and talked to me, and I got to spend time with my kids. And it's a blessing. Rest forces us to enjoy the life that we have, and it's a blessing. Guys, anything that happens, no matter what is coming, you have limited control of it, but God is in control. And I talked about that last time, right? God is in control. None of this is a surprise to Him. So if you can't be in control, rest while you can and talk to God. Grow. I don't mean this is easy. I don't mean that you're not scared. I don't mean that there isn't work to be done. But take advantage of the gift you've been given. Like, rest. Don't just escape. Escape isn't bad. It's good to do some of that. But, like, rest. Feed your soul. Sing some songs about how amazing the creation is. Like, talk to God about how thankful you are for your children and for your family. Do something to bless the person next to you. I don't mean just, like, fall into crazy work schedule, driving yourself nuts to bless someone, but, like, find a way to make somebody's day better. Call the shut-in that you know down the road and check in on them and make sure everything's okay. Like, this is an opportunity. It's a gift. If you're going to do anything right now, spend time talking to God. Spend time in relationship with the God who is in control of all this. Spend a little bit of time resting. Breathe, pray, read, sing, nap. Don't turn the noise on. Turn it off and just be in God's presence. The blessing you're getting right now is rest. Enjoy it.